Detective William is a week away from retirement. He's seen everything this city has to offer, and none of it is good. On his last Sunday before he's done, he shows up to a crime scene and meets David, a younger detective who just transferred in specifically to work this unit. A man was shot. Neighbors heard him arguing with his wife for 2 hours. William is already thinking about what comes after this. On the way out, William asks David why he fought so hard to get reassigned here. David says he wants to do some good. William tells him that for the next 7 days, he's still the one in charge. Monday morning, David gets called to another scene. The victim is an enormously overweight man sitting at a kitchen table with his face in a plate of spaghetti. His hands and feet are tied. Under the table, there's a bucket. The floor is covered in cockroaches. At the morgue, the doctor explains the man ate until he hemorrhaged internally. There are bruises on the back of his head, consistent with a gun barrel being pressed there. Someone forced him to eat for 12 hours at gunpoint and then kicked him hard enough to rupture his insides. William takes the case to the captain and makes a clear argument. This is too much work for a single kill. Whoever did this put meaning into it. He thinks it's a serial killer and he requests reassignment immediately. He doesn't want his last case to be this one. The captain refuses to reassign William but puts David on something else to keep them apart. Tuesday, a defense attorney is found dead. David catches the scene. A massive blood stain on the carpet spells out the word greed. Blood has been used to draw glasses onto a portrait of a woman on the wall. The captain calls William in and hands him a bottle of small plastic pieces recovered from the first victim's stomach. They were fed to him deliberately. William goes back to the first crime scene and opens the refrigerator. Strange holes in the floor. The plastic pieces fit the holes perfectly. He slides the fridge aside and finds the word gluttony written in grease on the wall behind it, along with a note. A quote from Paradise Lost. This has just started. At the station, William lays it out. The killer is working through the 7 deadly sins. Gluttony was first. Greed was second. One a day until the week runs out. Then he puts everything on David's desk and tells the captain David can have the whole case. He's done. That evening, William goes to the library. He studies the Canterbury Tales, the Divine Comedy, everything that touches the subject. He photocopies pages, builds a reading list, and leaves it in an envelope for David. Then he goes home. David stays at his desk, going through both crime scenes until the early hours. Wednesday, David is sharing an office with William, whether he wants to or not. His wife Tracy calls and insists on inviting William to dinner. William goes. The whole house shakes when the train passes and he can't help laughing. After dinner, the two men go through what they know. The attorney was tortured over an entire weekend. The killer had broken in on Friday and had until Monday. The victim had to cut a pound of flesh from his own body, specifically from his stomach, weigh it on a scale, and bleed out doing it. A quote from The Merchant of Venice was left at the scene. The woman in the blood-drawn portrait is Gould's wife. William looks at the picture and says there's something she was supposed to see but didn't. They go to interview her and show her the crime scene photos. She points to a painting on the wall and says it's upside down. They rush back to the scene and pull the painting away from the wall. Nothing behind it. William takes a brush and goes over the wall surface and finds fingerprints. Thousands of them, covering the entire area behind the painting. The print lab uncovers the message. The fingerprints form 2 words, "Help me." They run them through the system and find nothing. Thursday, the prints come back. They belong to a man named Victor. Raised Southern Baptist, history of mental illness, long criminal record. Every available officer moves out. William doesn't think Victor is the killer, but nobody listens. The team breaks down the door of a filthy apartment covered in pine tree air fresheners hanging from the ceiling to deal with the smell. In the bedroom, there's a shape under the sheets. They pull them back and find a skeletal body, dead for months. The word sloth is on the wall above the bed. A box of photographs documents the decay over a full year. A cop leans over the body and says he got what he deserved. The body starts coughing. Victor is alive. An ambulance takes him away. Later, a doctor confirms he hasn't moved in a year. Spine deterioration, muscle loss, medication throughout his system, no tongue. He can't be questioned and he may never recover. A reporter breaks into the building and gets a photo of the detectives. David loses his temper and destroys the camera. Friday morning, Tracy calls William and asks him to meet her. She doesn't know anyone else in the city and needs someone to talk to. Over breakfast, she tells him she hates living here, but won't say anything to David because it would affect his career. Then she tells him she's pregnant. She wants children, but she doesn't want to raise them here, and she doesn't know what to do. William tells her not to say anything to David until she's made a decision. She cries. Back at the station, William and David stare at what they have. David thinks the killer is unstable. William thinks the opposite. Everything about this operation is methodical and controlled. He takes David to the library and builds another list. At lunch, they go to a pizza place and William pays a man under the table. David pushes him until he explains the man is a former FBI agent with access to library system records. He's going to search for someone who borrowed every book on the list. An hour later, they have a report. Every relevant book was taken out under the name John Doe. They go to the address on the library card. They knock. John Doe appears in the corridor, sees them, and opens fire immediately. Both detectives hit the floor. John runs. David follows him down through the building, through stairwells, past screaming civilians he sends back into their apartments. A woman comes running out of her door, and when David searches inside, John has already gone through a window. From an alley below, John shoots up at David to cover his escape and runs. David comes out through the window and takes the roof. John goes into an abandoned building. David breaks in through a window and sees blood on the floor. John is injured. They run through corridors and out a fire escape. John crosses the street and causes a pileup while slipping into an alley. David lands on a trash pile from the fire escape and follows. He moves carefully around a truck. John is on top of it and drops down, hitting David from above, taking his gun and aiming at his head. William walks into the alley. John runs. They can't get into the apartment without a warrant. David pretends to calm down and then kicks the door in. To save the situation, they pay a neighbor to tell the police she called them because someone had been acting suspicious. Now they can search the place legally. Inside, they find a box of tools, a neon cross, a drawer of medicine beside a Bible, and cabinets filled with souvenirs from the murders. A picture of a woman in a fur coat. William finds notebooks, hundreds of pages of the killer's thinking. In a hidden room, David finds photographs of all the victims taken while they were dying, including photographs taken by the reporter at Victor's building. They spoke to the killer that day without knowing it. The forensic team finds cash and a bill, but not a single fingerprint anywhere in the apartment. William reads through the night, no dates to match to the murders. Then the phone rings. David picks it up. It's John Doe. He says he admires David, but he can't say more because it would ruin the surprise. Then he hangs up. The notebooks confirm what William suspected. John is preaching. He believes genuinely that what he's doing is righteous. The woman in the fur coat photograph is the next lead. Saturday, the address on the bill takes them to a leather shop. The owner shows them a picture of a custom order John placed. Their beepers go off simultaneously. The woman from the photograph has been found. In the basement of a club, she's dead on a bed with the word lust carved into the door. A man in a bedsheet is on the floor screaming. At the station, William shows the man a picture of the custom leather piece, a device with a blade built into it. John put a gun in the man's mouth and forced him to use the device on the woman. She died from it. David goes home and tells Tracy he loves her. William can't sleep. He throws a knife at his dartboard in the dark over and over with perfect accuracy. Sunday, a 911 call comes in from John himself. A woman is found dead in bed with the word pride painted in blood on the wall. A bottle of sedatives and a phone have been glued into her hands. John had cut her face to disfigure it, then bandaged her, then given her a choice: call for help and live with what she'd see in the mirror, or use the pills. Her pride made the decision for her. At the station, William tells David he's not retiring until this case is closed. Then John Doe walks through the front door covered in blood. He stands in the middle of the room and yells until everyone notices him. David gets his gun out. John is handcuffed and taken in while asking for a lawyer. They try to take prints. The skin has been cut from his fingertips. William and David don't believe for a second that he's surrendered. This is the trap. John's lawyer makes an offer. There are 2 more bodies. John will only lead David and William to the locations himself. If they refuse, he pleads insanity. If they accept, he pleads guilty. The district attorney confirms the blood on John's clothes belongs to 2 new victims. They have no choice. Microphones are taped to their chests. The captain handles the press. The 3 of them get into a car with a helicopter following overhead. During the drive, John refuses to talk about himself and only discusses his work. He tells William he didn't kill anyone who wasn't guilty. Even being overweight made the first man a sinner in his logic. He keeps pushing at David specifically, watching him get closer to the edge with every sentence. Eventually, John tells them to stop the car in an open field lined with electrical towers. He checks the time and begins walking them through it. A van appears on the road. William runs to intercept it while David stays with John. He blocks the road, draws his gun, and a terrified delivery driver gets out. The man was paid to deliver a package for David at this location at this exact time. William opens the box. His face changes completely. He calls through to his team and tells them John has the upper hand. He starts running back across the field. John tells David he admires him. He paid a detective to get information about his life. He tells David he visited Tracy. He tells David what he did to her. He tells David her head is in the box. He tells David envy is his sin. He envied David's life, his normalcy, everything he had, and now he's offering David the chance to be Wrath. William arrives and tries to get between them. David asks what's in the box. William won't say it. That's the confirmation. John tells David that Tracy was pregnant. William slaps John across the face. David shoots him once, then 5 more times after he's already down. In the evening, David is taken away by the police. William finally walks away from the force for the last time.